reading from Peter Hendrickson's LostHorizons.com. The appendix, Don't Look Behind That Curtain. Peter Hendrickson talks about the IRS circulating a dirty dozen of the agency's annual rite of spring, meaning a list of certain practices that the agency favors or disfavors for one reason or another. So in 2006, the list made, at the top of the list was zero wages. And this is the internal note to the internal to the IRS, which explains why people are putting these bogus scams zeros on their federal tax returns. So they say, number one, zero wages. In this scam, new to the dirty dozen, a taxpayer attaches to his or her return either a form of 4852, substitute form W-2, or a corrected form 1099 that shows zero little wages or other income. The taxpayer may include a statement indicating the taxpayer is rebutting information submitted to the IRS by the taxpayer. An explanation to the form 4852 may cite statutory language behind the IRC 3401 and 3121, or may include some references to the paying company refusing to issue a corrected form W-2 for fear of IRS retaliation. The form 4852 or 1099 is usually attached to a zero return. So Peter Hendrickson goes to say the craft behind the attempt is marked, among other things, by its failure to actually specify the flaw in the practices, a reference even while gratuitously describing it as a scam. Furthermore, the entry pointedly addresses the taxpayer engaging in practice described in what is likely a small attempt to legitimize the entry's intended implication. The use of that term permits the explanation that since someone subject to the Internal Revenue laws, the statutory definition of taxpayer, C-26 USC, is due to the recipient of income. And then the IRS has a note for their internal note number 4, zero returns. Promoters instruct taxpayers to enter all zeros in their federal income tax filings. In a twist on the scheme, filers enter zero income, report their withholdings, and then write a Latin word for now and then on the return. They also do this with amended returns in hopes that the IRS will disregard the original return in which they reported wages and other income. So Peter Hendrickson replies with no. The CTC educated filer simply enters all zeros on anything. Certainly, it often happens that a zero is the corrected entry here and there in a filing. However, much the tax agencies dislike that the number on the income portion of the form. But such entries are not made by anyone knowledgeable about the laws, simply as a matter of policy. They are made as a matter of accuracy, each being individually determined by the proper application of all relevant provisions of the law. The fact is, to the degree that it is not simply an escape hatch from the inappropriateness of the entry in which it is placed, this reference to zero returns is nothing more than a cheap effort to smear the inconvenient filings which the IRS so desperately wishes to discourage by suggesting that they are of a kind returns filed in years past by adherent in various misunderstandings who did indeed file 1040s as described above. So in 2009, it does talk about, in 2007, the crafted dirty dozen disinformed discussed above was moved to position number 5, which Peter says is probably out of the IRS internal embarrassment of the fact that those acting on the actual CTC educated understanding of the law and facts continue to secure their complete refunds and other victories without interruption. So visit losthorizons.com appendix to see more people just like you and I who got a refund from the IRS. And continuing on this pattern, in 2009, the IRS moved it down to number 10 listing, and it got a little bit more elaborate by saying that filing a phony wage or income related information return to a place of legitimate information return has been used as an illegal method to lower amount of taxes owed. And at the end, their internal memo states taxpayers should resist any temptation to participate in any of the various variations of the scheme. Pete Hendrickson goes on to say, but no more relevant to the actual CTC educated filings. This listing only refers to and concerns folks who try to scam their way around legitimate information returns, as opposed to simply rebutting inaccurate and therefore illegitimate assertions on such returns. Similarly, it refers to doing what is described in order to improperly reduce taxable income to zero. CTC educated filers do not do anything to reduce taxable income, at least nothing out of the ordinary. They simply ensure that gross income is carefully and accurately reported and then proceed from there. This listing ends with the admonition that taxpayers should resist any temptation to participate in any of the various of the schemes, and Peter Hendrickson agrees that. And P.S. On June 11th, 2008, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals declared that the government can't be prohibited from suggesting that CTC promotes false or fraudulent tax schemes, at least not simply because the DOJ itself shut down 3 prior IRS efforts to declare the book to do so in 3 different courts across the country. And click here for more information on newhorizons.com appendix. And of course, the book Peter referring to is Cracking the Code. Visit the website, read up on this information. You'll understand a little bit about how to not do anything illegal, but work within the law to reduce your taxable income.